beautiful, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this video where we are going to talk about makeup brands in their flop era. I did see this video over at Kaleidos channel. I saw that she did this video and then she also did one where she was asking her subscribers which brands they thought were in their flop era, and I actually only watched that one. I didn't watch the original one because I didn't want to get too influenced with the things that she said, but I will leave her videos down below. And I asked you on Instagram, what do you think? What brands are in their flop era? And I also said you get bonus points if you're able to name some indie ones. So I have a full list of brands here that for one reason or another we might think are in their flop era. Let's see if we agree. Can you tell that I'm trying to sing my theme song? I did film this look, I did film a little get ready with me. I am using my two palettes with Oden. These have launched now. This is the Little Ghost palette and the Trick or Treat palette. They are available. I will link them down below, and I will also link down below this makeup look because it is live on my channel. So I am going to be talking about some mainstream brands and I'm going to be talking about some indie brands. I want to just quickly explain because sometimes people ask me, why do you say that this one is an indie brand that is available at Sephora? That has nothing to do whether or not something is an indie brand. An indie brand just means that it is independently owned, meaning that they do not have a umbrella brand above them. They have not been bought out by a bigger brand like L'Oreal or Estee Lauder. It means that they do not have a lot of big financial backers behind them. Do we know 100% that these are indie brands or not? No, but it is fairly for certain that they are at least not owned by a big umbrella brand. Just take this for what it is. I'm going to be mentioning indie brands. I'm going to be mentioning mainstream brands. Some of the lines are a little blurred because some brands are available at mainstream places. So don't take this as gospel. I'm doing the best I can. And you mentioned a bunch of brands that I actually don't 100% agree on, and we're going to talk about that as well. Let's start with the brand that the most people mentioned. And someone even mentioned in a comment, because I asked this on Instagram, this is like low-hanging fruit, but Urban Decay. Urban Decay, I wonder how they are doing. I feel like they've been in their flop era for a couple of years. Sometimes I like to speculate because I'm speculating. I don't know this. This is just my opinion on things, but I like to speculate a little bit of like, why do I think this is and what do I think could fix it? And of course I'm saying that with someone that has slightly above average knowledge of the beauty industry, but of course not all of it. Like, I don't know these brands, but with Urban Decay, I think that they became a little pedestrian. They got bought up by L'Oreal, they became a little pedestrian. And I will say, all of these brands that I put on this list, I'm putting them in this video not because they're not popular or because nobody's talking about them, but because they used to be extremely popular. They used to be talked about so much in the beauty sphere and also by people outside of the beauty sphere. And now it's either crickets. Like some of these brands, you're probably going to be like, oh, they're not even remember that brand. And some of them are just not catching a break. Like Urban Decay, they're not really having a bunch of releases that really are super loved. I feel like the last thing that they released where people were like, wow, this is amazing, was that Hydromaniac foundation. I feel like that one was a really big hit. Is it called Hydromaniac? I don't know. But I feel like a lot of people with dry skin says that that foundation is a beautiful long wear medium coverage foundation that lasts on them all day. I have not tried it because I have heard from people that have my skin type, which is more oily combo, that it is a little too tacky, greasy, dewy on them. But I feel like that's the last product that I've really heard people be like, wow, that is such a great product. And at this point, I'm like, so what really are the staple products? Because the palettes that they are releasing, the quality is meh. It's good at best, but nobody's shouting from the rooftops. And also because they became popular for being such a rebel, exciting, colorful brand, and now they're leaning more into the naked line, I think they lost their original consumers, and maybe the consumers they have now are maybe not as diehard loyal to the brand, so maybe they lost their loyal consumers. I would actually love to hear what you think would make Urban Decay have a, do you call it a flip era? Should I do that? Maybe a video of like brands that are in like not the flip era, but like brands that are like they can't do anything wrong. Like the brands that are truly like the loved by the beauty community right now, because I have a couple of brands that would fit that. Let me know if you would like me to do a video like that as well, because there are definitely brands out there that seems like they can do no wrong. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts about Urban Decay, because I feel like they used to have so many hits and so many things, and people were so excited about Urban Decay releases, and I don't see that anymore. Now I want to mention 1, 2, 3 brands that I feel were super popular for a single product or a single type of product, and other brands may have surpassed them in that area, and I don't feel like they brought anything new to the table. And that is Stila with their liquid glow eyeshadows that they keep releasing, and it's like, let it go. I'm doing a Frozen, let it go. Like, nobody is excited about that anymore. Please, anything else, I'm begging of you. Also, Buxom with their lip glosses. Everything else that they've released have been mediocre at best. It's been such a snooze fest. Everything they're releasing in powder products have been incredibly light pastel-y leaning, to the point where you're like, who is this for? And I feel like they had such a hit with their blush. They had some blushes that people loved, and I do not understand why they didn't build on that range. Why did you not do highlighters, bronzers, liquid version? Like, then they just went back to lip products again, and I'm sorry, there are so many other brands right now that are doing more exciting lip glosses. Remember when everyone was talking about White Russian by Buxom? That's not today. There's nothing exciting about the brand, and maybe there is and I'm missing it. I don't see it. And the next one is Smashbox and their primers. I have not seen anyone use a Smashbox primer in a hot minute, but they are still calling themselves the expert of primers, and I'm like, you either need to get with the times and release something new and exciting, or, hear me out, maybe get into some other kind of product categories. They released this concealer that was meh. I think the shade range is super, super weird. I usually buy light medium when I buy foundations, and I bought a light, and it was too dark for me, so it was just a little bit confusing. Still have not tried the foundation. Do I have it here somewhere? Oh, here it is. The Always On. I feel like this one had the potential to be a hit. I still have not tried it because I was busy. I went on vacation. Now I'm back. Again, this is a light. I think it runs a little dark. I mean, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just letting you know. Maybe go a shade or two down from what you usually wear. I just haven't heard anyone be super excited about Smashbox in a hot minute. And they've also done some collabs with like DC Comic that haven't really been maybe pulling in the money that they were hoping it was gonna pull in. Correct me if I'm wrong. Cover FX used to be one of those brands that I remember when I went to New York. I just started doing YouTube. And I was gonna go to New York. I was over the moon excited to be able to go into Sephora and buy things, because at that time, we didn't really have any of these brands available, let alone in Sweden. Like, it was so thrilling. And one of the brands that I was so excited to visit was Cover FX. They had those foundation droppers, the liquid highlighters, those like blush duos with a matte and a shimmery. They were poppin', and then they just disappeared. It's like they didn't release anything for a really, really, really long time. And they disappeared from Sephora. I think they're no longer in Ulta either. I truly would love to know what happened with the brand to the point that they really did not release anything for a hot minute. And they just recently actually came back with, I think, some kind of a relaunch, but now they're only online. But they decreased the amount of shades that they have in their foundation range, which I'm not going to be the one, I want to be the devil's advocate, because if it's a brand that's not doing that well anymore, I understand that they're not able to offer as many foundations. Like, I understand. Is it a good move? Like, does it look good to the public? It doesn't. But I understand, like, economic-wise, that if you're a brand that's not doing as well anymore, you're not in Ulta, you're not in Sephora, I understand that you cannot afford to have that many foundation shades, but that's like an explanation. It's not an excuse. So I don't know where this brand is going. It seems like they're re-releasing their blush duos as well, but I'm like, Can they really grab people's attention again to the way that it was, because people were crazy bonkers over Cover FX? Can people really be that excited about this brand again when they just are re-releasing old things? I think they need to release some new things. Otherwise, they're just gonna disappear into, I don't know, the nothingness again. Who remembers Lorac? No hands? Nobody? That's what I thought. When I joined the beauty community, the way that people would fall over themselves, I swear people were camping outside of Ulta to be able to get the new Lorac palettes for Christmas. These were like the hot commodity, and then nothing. I think that some brands, and I think that this is the reason for a lot of brands why they kind of fall to the side, is that they keep thinking that what has worked before is going to work again. So they just do a small change of what has been working before, and then do it again, and then they do it again, and then they do it again, without realizing that eventually their customers are going to look at a product and be like, I already have this, and I do not need another one of this. And I think this is what happened with Lorac. They just kept releasing more and more big neutral eyeshadow palettes with 1 or 2 pops in them, and they just kept doing that again and again and again, and eventually other brands just surpassed them in packaging, in color stories, in quality. And I feel like Lorac just put the blinders on and just kept going with what they were doing. And I think they should have looked a little bit more around, like, what are other people doing? What kind of formulas are in right now? What kind of color stories are in? Is there other products we could be releasing as well? I have not heard a single person mention Lorac for a really long time. And I honestly, are they available at Ulta? Hold. Amazon, Macy's. If I click on Ulta, I do get some stuff at Ulta, yes. And there are those powders and blushes, a setting powder. Yeah, those very neutral powders. Oh, there is a foundation. Did you know that? Who's getting Lorac PR? Like, who's talking about Lorac? More neutral eyeshadow palettes, more neutral eyeshadow palettes. Oh, there's a concealer. Who's talking about Lorac? Like, seriously, have you heard anyone talk about Lorac? Or do you know someone, or have you yourself bought anything from Lorac at like Ulta or anywhere these past years? I had no idea they had foundations and concealers. Absolutely mystified by this fact. A lot of people were mentioning, and these are going to be some brands that I personally don't agree with, because I don't think they're in their flop era, and I actually think they are. Even though everything they're releasing is not a hit, I still think that these brands are doing well. Maybe not as well as they have done, but I don't think that these are brands that are not making a lot of money, let's say. Maybe they've been better before, but I definitely, me, myself, a bunch of you were disagreeing. Me, myself, I don't think they're in the flop area. And that is MAC, Pat McGrath, and Tarte. And I think all 3 of these brands are probably doing great. Tarte has had a bunch of those like lip gloss in a stick. I can only imagine how many $1 million they've made on those this like past year or 2. So I don't think we need to worry about those brands myself. MAC is, if I'm not mistaken, one of the most, if not the most popular brand in the Middle East. So I don't think that they're in their flop era, even though of course maybe they used to be even more popular before. I don't think they have they're not in the Lorac category. Next is one of the first brands that I put on the list when I made this one, and that is Morphe. Nobody can deny that Morphe is in their, they almost went bankrupt. They had to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They got bailed out by a financier. Clearly, they were in over their head. And I think that at the end of the day, the brand itself was not as exciting as people thought their promoters were. And when a lot of the promoters, when they were getting canceled left, right, and center, I think that Morphe found themselves to be just a mediocre brand with nobody really talking about them. And honestly, the Morphe quality was never that good. It was just never that good. It was okay for the price. Some things were really good. There were some things that was like, oh, this is really nice for the time. And again, I feel like they also found themselves in the, well, this has worked before, so let's do it again. But like, yeah, the 35O, that was great quality shadows then. The 35O today, there are brands running laps around that palette. It's not good measured with the quality that are released today. And I feel like Morphe forgot. You kind of have to like, you know, get with the time. Let's mention one more brand that I don't necessarily know if they're like super hype, but I do remember a lot of bigger YouTubers and makeup YouTubers were making videos about this brand. And I remember myself, I was in Ulta this weekend with my husband, and I walked past a Pure counter and I was like, hello there, babe, you still here? Are you still here? I thought you left. Who heard anything about Pure lately? Like, they were doing a collab with Raw Beauty Christie, they were doing collabs with Barbie, they were releasing 100 shades of foundation. They were on a roll until they were not. And I feel bad, but I kind of forgot they existed. And I'm like, why did they fall off? This is one of those brands where I don't know why they fell off. Did they stop releasing stuff? Did they stop sending out PR? Do you want to fill me in? When I asked you for indie brands, there are 2 indie brands that were the most answered by far. And both of these make me super sad because both of these are brands that I used to be super excited about. And I will say one of them I think I still am, and that is Kaleidos. But I kind of agree with you. I think Kaleidos is in their flop era. And I don't know, again, like I really don't have any insight into any of these brands, if I'm gonna be honest with you. I did a collab with Kaleidos in 2021, I think. I did the Club Nebula palette. I am so proud of that palette. I'm so proud of how they let me just do whatever I wanted, honestly. And I had so much fun with it. And I was the one that said that like, oh, I want to do the space theme because they've been doing the space theme up until then. But I feel like they're doing just something else right now. I think they're trying to appeal more to the neutral crowd. And if it's one thing I know from talking to brands, it is that you gain a lot of attention with colorful things, but it's not necessarily always the thing that sells the most. But I will say I'm less excited by the things that come out from Kaleidos, but every time I do, because I still receive PR from the brand, and every time I receive PR from the brand, I'm so super excited because I know that the quality is going to be there. I know they're going to release really high quality stuff, but their neutral quads, they aren't for me. I'm not excited about that. Those last blushes that they released that were super pale, they barely showed up on me. Love the lip glosses though, but it's been hard to really grasp what the brand is about right now. And I definitely don't think that this is one of those where they're just gonna like disappear, but I do think that maybe they need to think a little bit about what kind of a brand they want to be. And if they want to be a brand that does neutrals, which there is nothing wrong with that, there are a bunch of brands that do great doing neutrals. Maybe it needs to be a little bit more difference between the things that they release so that they can keep the attention of the consumers. So I love Kaleidos, I really do, but I got several hundred people answering Kaleidos. And I also got several hundred people saying Melt, and this makes me very sad because Melt is actually probably one of the first indie brands I ever bought from. They are available at Sephora now, but I'm fairly sure that they are still an indie brand. I remember buying those stacks. Oh, loved those so much. I have since decluttered them because they were old, and their eyeshadow palettes, like, they used to be such good quality, and then they had a couple that weren't as good quality. Like, I didn't love the 420 palette, 320 palette, 560 palette. I didn't love that one. I also did not love that pink gray palette. It wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't their normal good quality. And then that last palette that they released, it felt, not only had they changed the formula, the mattes were not as pigmented. The shimmers were better, but the mattes were not as pigmented. And Melt was known for making super pigmented, impactful, amazing mattes. And the whole color story honestly felt a little uninspired. Almost like the spell of Urban Decay had hit Melt. And I don't know what happened. Again, it could be that other brands just took their place, were more exciting and just more out there. And I also think that when you move into a place like Sephora, it's not as easy to take as many risks as an indie brand can do, because an indie brand can take a bunch of risks and they are the only ones sending out the product, and the amount of stock you have is also not as much. So if you end up not selling them as quickly as you were hoping to, it's not that much money held up in stock. But when you're buying maybe tens of thousands of units, that's a lot of money being held up in stock that you cannot sell. So maybe you cannot take as many risks. But yeah, I do miss the old Melt. I really do. And I'm still holding out, hoping that this holiday release is going to be something fun, because I remember when the holiday release from Melt was the thing that kept the whole beauty community waiting. And I don't feel like that's the case anymore. Another brand that a lot of people mentioned, and I definitely agree, and this is Jeffree Star Cosmetics. For various different reasons, this brand totally fell off, mainly because the owner's behavior truly came out into the light so that everyone could see what it was all about. And I can honestly tell you that I have no idea what the brand has released this past couple of years. I'm sure they've released stuff, but the bigger part of the beauty community, honestly, I don't think we could care less. Next are 3 brands that were incredibly popular as I got into the beauty community. Like, they took the beauty community by storm. Everybody loved them. Everybody featured them. Everybody wanted to talk about them. And that is Dose of Colors, UA, and Violet Voss. Where are you now? Nobody knows. Violet Voss and UA were both available at Sephora. Dose of Colors were available at Ulta, but they left Ulta. They just recently did that collab with Trevor. Maybe this will be their comeback and they will get popular again, because I've seen a lot of people buy that palette. I haven't seen any reviews of the palette yet though, because I've been really busy. So I haven't been able to like see reviews of it, but let me see. UA Cosmetics. Let's see where it's available. Okay, it says Sephora has it, but everything is on sale. Yeah, that's a clear sign that they're exiting. And let's look at Violet Voss. Also, I love this, but I kind of want to buy a new phone case because I've been having this for so long. I kind of want to buy a new one. Okay, they're still available at Sephora, it seems. And not everything is on sale. So I guess they're still available. Oh wait, there's only 2 palettes. One of them is on sale for $9. That's not a good sign. And the other one is not. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think any of these 3 brands are doing especially good. And I don't know why, but it could be that there were some people that was truly promoting these brands, and those people either stopped doing makeup reviews or moved on into other brands instead. And when they were not getting as much promotion as they used to, they kind of fell off. And I think that's what happened with all 3 of these brands. When people moved on to, I'm saying bigger and better things because I don't think any of these brands necessarily had bad products, but when the bigger influencers moved on to other brands, they couldn't hold the fort on their own, same as apparently Morphe couldn't. They just weren't exciting enough on their own. And I feel like a lot of the things, like with Violet Voss, a lot of the color stories that Violet Voss has released, it just hasn't really been keeping up with the time, in my humble opinion. And with UA, I don't know really. They were so popular for their highlighters and their liquid lipsticks, and I really liked them, but I don't know if they released anything fun since then, honestly. And Dose of Colors, yeah, nothing really happened with the brand for a long time, and then they left Ulta. And yeah, I'm interested to see how, in what direction Dose of Colors is going to go now after this collab. Is this going to be the thing that puts the brand on the map again in the beauty community? And again, I would love to hear like people around you, and you, do you buy from these brands? Do you agree with me? Because it's perfectly fine if you don't agree with me. It's okay to have difference in opinions. I have one more brand that I want to mention, and same here. I passed the display on this one at Target last time, and that is Beauty Bakerie. And the display is all empty, and it has been all empty for a long time. And then I was at CVS. I was at CVS just buying a drink, and I went by the Beauty Bakerie counter, all empty. And I was like, are they going out of business? Are they not restocking? Because like any brand can have like 1 or 2 items out of stock, but to have everything out of stock at 2 different places and not restock for weeks and months? Same. Let's see where Beauty Bakerie is available. Have you heard anything about the brand as of late? I feel like they were just blowing up, booming. They went into Ulta, they went into drugstores, and then nothing? And I don't know. I love that I just searched for bakery thinking that I'm gonna find something. Okay, so Ulta still has Beauty Bakerie. I guess we can find it at Target as well. Yes, at Target. I don't know. Have you heard anything about this? Let me go into Ulta and see. If I go to new arrivals, the new arrival is the matte lip whip. I'm guessing maybe they came up with new colors, but none of these products seem actually new. I'm wondering, what do you think happened with Beauty Bakerie? Is it a brand that's stocked where you are? Because here close to me, I couldn't find anything. I would love to hear your thoughts about any of these brands, and also let me know if you would like me to do the opposite kind of a video, brands that seem to be able to do no wrong, just the babies right now of the beauty community, the ones that everyone seems to love, the flip brands. I don't think that's a term. I think I made that up. But you know what? I'll own it. Brands are in their flip era. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will see you soon again in a new video. Bye!